My name is James Armour and I'm unemployed. The Selkie is a 307-kilometre adventure race across the Scottish Outer Hebrides. It starts at the Barrowhead Lighthouse at the southern end of the Outer Hebrides and crosses over all of the archipelago of islands up to the Butt of Lewis Lighthouse at the northern end. The Selkie stands for the mythological Norse Gaelic seal creatures that used to come onto land and shed off their seal skin and walk around as humans. And I took inspiration from this because it's the culture of the Outer Hebrides, it's the Norse Gaelic roots, and it's quite like what I'm going to be doing for my race. I'm going to be coming onto land, getting back in the water, coming onto land. There's 6 different swims and 6 different running sections. I'm going to be on the bike twice. So really, I felt that I was recreating what the Selkie used to do. It's been about 18 months since I came up with the idea for the Selkie, and I remember standing in my office in Copenhagen, inviting my colleagues around to look at the map on Google Maps. Danish people, never been to Scotland, don't know what the Outer Hebrides were, and I was describing to them what I was hoping to do. And yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy journey since then. I think when I started, I was about 600 metres was one of the first swims I did, and this was February time, stormy, it was across a harbour. I was terrified. I had kitchen gloves on. I didn't have proper neoprene gloves at the time and elastic bands to keep the water out, so I just had a wetsuit and kitchen gloves on. And I think I had wool socks under my neoprene shoes, so I was just not prepared whatsoever. And I was standing on this pier in Copenhagen. Didn't think I was going to make it, 600 metres, which is probably like, yeah, it's less than 1% of what the actual race is going to be. And since then, it's just been a lot of time in the water. I mean, I moved back to Scotland and been training a lot in Edinburgh, down at Wardie Bay, which is very cold. It's been a degree this January. Quite often battling through floating logs or floating wet wipes or other mysterious brown liquids, and it's also the place where the sewage overflows. But it's just been a lot of consistency and a lot of getting in the water when I don't want to get in the water, and just trying to train my mind as much as my body. You know, putting on a wetsuit before going to work at 6 a.m. when it's snowing outside and it's a degree in the water. Even if I'm only out for 45 minutes, that whole experience has just really given me a lot of strength, and I'm hoping that I can carry that through now that the waters are 14 degrees and hopefully the sun's going to be out. But it's been a heck of a journey. It's been a very long process. I mean, I've never actually been to the Outer Hebrides, so I have only heard from hearsay about what it's like. And knowing that this is such actually an enormous place, and these are big islands, but there aren't that many people living there, means that there is so much more space for nature to take its place, and so much more wildlife. And there are some really unique habitats. I mean, everyone goes on about the macher, and you've got, basically it's kind of like wildflower meadows that have been developed from all of the seashells washing up and being broken down on the beaches. But I've never been there and I've never seen it, so I can't really feel it until I've gone. But I really think it's the lack of people and the space for wildlife that makes it such a special place. are down on Mingaloo Beach. Oh man, this is awesome. Good morning! Guten Morgen. How are you?
How's the first run, James? How's the first
Yeah, that was awesome. It was really, really cool. We had a really good run down. The heather wasn't actually too bad. We managed to find a bit of a trail, and yeah, the conditions are just perfect for this. Just looking forward to the flood stream, because that first swim was only 20 minutes and I thought it was going to be 40. So I'm hoping that we can keep riding the current all the way over to Pa Bay. As I embarked on my first long swim, I could feel the presence of the Selkie in the water around. Knowing these grey seals can weigh up to 400 kilos, I forced myself to focus on my stroke and ignore the shadows moving around me. As I left the bay, one bold seal came within inches of me, inspecting the strange gangly creature with a furry face that suddenly appeared in his waters. Content that I posed no threat, he drifted away into the darkness. The encounter, though intimidating, felt apt. These creatures gave rise to the legendary Selkie of Celtic mythology, the creatures that inspired this race. However, they aren't the only animals to inhabit these waters.
So my name's Becky, I'm the Science Officer at the Hebridean Whale and Dolphin Trust. So my main role is to run the expedition surveys on our research vessel Silurian. So we collect visual, acoustic and photo ID data on whales, dolphins and porpoises on the west coast of Scotland. The Hebrides is one of the best places in the world really for cetaceans. So there's been 24 species of cetaceans, so that's whales, dolphins and porpoise sighted here, which is over a quarter of the whole of the world's species. And that's because there's so many different habitats for them to have here. So we've got really coastal species, so ones that spend their whole life around the shore, so bottlenose dolphins and harbour porpoise. But we also get bigger species that use the Hebrides almost like a migration highway, so come just west of the Outer Hebrides, so the bigger animals like humpback whales, and because there's so many different habitats under the water and upwellings and things, it brings all the food here as well. So you've got food, you've got loads of different habitats, and yeah, that's why they're all here. So my typical day at the Trust involves being on Silurian. I spend most of my time out on our research vessel, and we usually get up in the morning, have breakfast all around the table, and get out to surveying. So we do visual and acoustic surveying out there. So we'll have people on the mast and we'll get the hydrophone in the water, and we'll basically survey a different route every single time, going to some of the most remote places on the west coast of Scotland. So whales, dolphins and porpoises are really important for healthy oceans and for any ecosystem that they exist in. So as top predators, they're known as umbrella species. So if they're healthy, it means that their prey is healthy and their prey's prey is healthy. So it's a really good indication that you've got healthy seas if whales and porpoises are doing well. The other thing they do is help combat climate change, particularly the larger whales, because they are part of the nutrient cycle and they bring nutrients that needs to be there for photosynthesis to happen, which kicks off the whole food chain. So they cycle that in the ocean through the way they mix water, but also because they eat at depth and then come up to the surface. That helps to cycle that nutrients. So really, really important in every ecosystem that they exist in. So one of the best parts of my job actually is getting to see people's reactions when they see whales and dolphins and just the joy that it brings to people's lives. So every time I'm out on the water with people, my hope is that they get that joy, and because I think that's what you need to be able to protect the oceans and get people to care about the sea. So my dream is to get as many people out on the water as possible, because that is what I think is going to really make a difference. There's not one person that sees a whale or a dolphin that doesn't feel something, and that means that they don't then care. So I think that's what we need to do, is get people caring about the sea, because that's how we're going to protect them for generations to come.
I really just don't know how the animals can do it out here. I really just don't know how they can just hug the sea cliffs and live in amongst the bays and chuck themselves out on the rocks, you know, the seabirds and the seals, and it's just so harsh, it's so cold, it is absolutely freezing. It just feels wild. It just feels really wild. It's untouched. There's no crap on the beaches, there's no signs of humans, there's, you know, ruined settlements from years and years ago, but it's just stone rocks, really. It's a magical place. Climbing the hill above Castle Bay, I could see the Bishop Isles laid out behind me. They only signified that I'd completed about a tenth of the race, but it still felt momentous. The stoic Macker landscape kept my spirits high as I ran down to my next swim. The sound of Barra.